What is the life expectancy of someone with multiple sclerosis? Hi, I'm Travis. Welcome to All the Things, where we take complicated stuff and break it down into easy to understand videos. And there's nothing more complicated than being diagnosed with a chronic disease that has no cure. I know this because that happened to me in 2013. So, if this is you or a loved one, grab some coffee, settle in, because I'm about to explain exactly what's happening right now. If you're watching this, you or a loved one has recently been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. That's an autoimmune disease, and to understand that, you're going to need to know just a little bit about how your immune system works. Your immune system has two jobs: identify self from other and kill other. Unfortunately, your immune system has identified a fatty coating around the cells in your nervous system as other, and it is trying to kill them. And that's a really simplified version, but your next question is probably, what can happen? In my case, the first thing that I noticed was that my right leg felt a little weird. Not weak, not pain, just a little weird. I didn't pay much attention to it, thought it must have been a pinched nerve from the gym. So I did what any 32-year-old bro does when something in their body doesn't feel right. I ignored it, and in a few weeks, it went away, back to normal. But then one night, my right arm started itching, and no matter how much I scratched it, it just kept itching. So I Googled that, and I found a forum post that said if I put some ice on it, it would stop. So I did, and wouldn't you know it, that worked great. So as long as I had an ice pack, I was good. I mean, it wasn't that big a deal because it only happened at night. Until one day, I was driving to work. I tilted my head slightly, and I felt something weird. There was a slight twinge in my right big toe. So I repeated it: head tilt, twinge in toe. Must be that pinched nerve. And on to work I went. I just tried not to tilt my head down the rest of the day, but the next day, it was even more noticeable. And it kept getting worse and worse and worse. After about 3 weeks, every time I bent my head forward, an electrical shock went through my entire body. And I mean, it felt like full-on shock. It was terrible. So after about a month of that, I finally decided to go to the doctor. And a couple MRIs later, I'm sitting in front of an MS specialist. My neurologist said that MS is not the easiest thing to diagnose. You know, it's not like chickenpox or something. But with the symptoms I described and the MRI results, it was definitely MS. He gave me an explanation of what it was, gave me some pamphlets with some medication information, told me to go home, look over it, and schedule a follow-up for a week later. That's not what I did. I went home and I started Googling stuff like multiple sclerosis, worst case scenario, multiple sclerosis, life expectancy. How close are they to a cure to multiple sclerosis? Everything that I searched for took me down a rabbit hole of despair. The internet tends to do that. A sneeze ends up being a brain-eating amoeba if you Google it hard enough. Horror story after horror story. An echo chamber of doom. It didn't take much time for me to place myself in that same category. A fate worse than death, doomed to be in a wheelchair in a few months and dead in just a few years. There I am lying in bed, 32 years old. All hope seems lost, because that's all I saw on the internet. It shows you an abyss. And like Nietzsche says, when you're staring into the abyss is staring back into you. And the abyss was turning me into it. I had a family, a young daughter, a son, a beautiful wife. I had to lock in. Cold felt hot, electrical shock running through my body, intense itching in my arm that wouldn't stop. And then I started Tysabri within a few weeks of my initial diagnosis. And I'm not saying Tysabri is right for everyone. There are risks. That's something that you need to discuss with your neurologist, and there are lots of medications now that will help. And within months, my symptoms disappeared. The numbness in my legs, gone. The tingling in my arms, gone. The electrical shocks when I tilted my head, gone. Now, was that 100% the medicine, or was that just how RRMS works? Probably a little bit of both, but either way, they were gone. And I haven't had any relapses since I've been on it. Maybe some flare-ups every now and then if, I eat too much pizza or I don't get enough sleep or something like that. So, every couple years, my leg will go numb or the itching in my arm comes back. That's kind of how relapsing, remitting MS works. Now and then, you get a reminder that you still have a chronic disease, but it doesn't take your life from you. It's manageable. You adapt, you improvise, you overcome, and maybe even make some new friends and have some wild experiences. I started going to an infusion center where I met some of the best nurses ever. It really helped me, and I would consider all of them friends to this day. And a few years after my initial diagnosis, I'm racing motorcycles at a New Jersey motorsports park. I've never even rode a motorcycle before my diagnosis, and now I'm racing motorcycles at a track. And that's something that really did almost end my life, but that's another story. But MS, the thing I thought was going to end my life, didn't stop me. If there's any benefit to having MS, it's that you realize just how precious your time here actually is. Be grateful for every moment you have, even if it seems terrible at the time, because you never know what the future holds. And speaking of never knowing and crazy experiences, one night I'm at a Asking Alexandria concert, walking around, and who do I see? My neurologist, the guy who diagnosed me with MS. We're both just there at a rock concert, living our lives. I mean, racing motorcycles, running into your neurologist at a metal show, life didn't end. It didn't even slow down. Now, I'm not saying MS is no big deal. It is a big deal. It's a chronic disease that requires lifelong treatment. But the version of MS I feared, the one where I'd be disabled and dependent and unable to live my life, that's not what happened. And for most people with relapsing, remitting MS who get on an effective treatment early, that's not what happens. But now, I'd be doing you a disservice if I just left it there. So far, I've made it all sound like a walk in the park. Racing motorcycles, going to metal shows, but, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. MS forces a responsibility on you. And you can let MS shrink your life, or you can let it sharpen your life. That choice is up to you. But I feel the opportunity you have is too great to waste on complaints and self-pity. You want to be the person that someone looks at and says, damn, they have multiple sclerosis and they still get things handled. Hasn't slowed them down a bit. Not many people get that opportunity. And it will get difficult. At times, extremely difficult. That's the perfect reason to do it, because it's difficult, because you learn. You learn to navigate it. You adapt. You overcome. But another thing that is difficult is MS is unpredictable. I don't know if I'll have a relapse next year or never again. I don't know if the Tysabri will keep working or if I'll have to switch to a different medication. I don't know if I'll be in transition to secondary progressive MS in 10 years or stay relapsing, remitting forever. That uncertainty is uncomfortable. You learn to live with it, and honestly, it makes you stronger. If I could go back to my 2013 self the day I got diagnosed, here's what I'd say. The medication works. Trust the process. Give yourself a few weeks to freak out, that's normal. Then take a breath and realize you're still you. You're still here. Oh yeah, and another thing, I know you've never ridden a motorcycle before, but in a few years, you're going to be racing them at a track. Yeah, motorcycles. And you're going to have a podcast and grandkids and a YouTube channel. So maybe chill out with the whole, is MS going to ruin my life? Spoiler alert, it doesn't. If you just got diagnosed with MS, I know you're scared. I know you're overwhelmed. I know you're reading everything you can find, and most of it's terrifying. But I need you to hear this. The internet shows you the extremes. It doesn't show you the thousands of people living perfectly normal lives with well-controlled MS. You're not doomed, you're not out of the game, you're not losing your future. You have a treatable, chronic condition. Get on medication. Work with your neurologist. And if you smoke, quit right now. I mean right now, not tomorrow. Right now. Smoking is something that causes MS to get way worse. One thing your neurologist probably already told you. Give the treatment time to work. And then lock in. Get your life back. I wasted months of mental energy catastrophizing about a future that never happened. MS is real. It's serious, but it's manageable. Life is crazy. Things happen, good and bad. MS is part of your story now, but it's not the end of your story. Not even close. Hell, you might even end up racing motorcycles.